Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure. This is Jo Bendle. So say hi, Jo.
Hey, everybody.
So very, very quickly. It's kind of a bit of a, are you allowed to have a crush on somebody, like a professional crush on somebody with what they're doing? I don't know. Okay. So I seriously do. Now, Jo Bendle, oh, you're going to absolutely love this. This podcast, this video might get a bit leery because two things. Jo and I are built from the same kind of stuff. And she might be more giddy than me. I don't know. We're about to find out.
A bit passionate.
But Jo has informed me that I see Jo as a genius, dynamite productivity coach. She helps you get the most out of every day, every week, every month, every year, but to live the life on your terms, follow your goals, follow your dreams, but how to put that into practice to happen. But now she's telling me she's even gone higher than that. All right. She's gone higher than that. She is about living big. I mean, big. I want to tell you that. How many countries have you worked in the last 5 years, Jo?
Oh, nearly 20, I think. Yeah.
Really? Right. So, Jo, hit me up. Tell us 1 minute all about you. Go.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm Jo, and I basically am from the UK. I've just spent the last 3 years being a location independent, traveling around the world with my business, because that was my dream, to have freedom. And I'm now settled in Spain, in a beautiful seaside city in Spain, because that's what living big looks like to me. And I think this is why Dave and I really bounce off each other so well, is because we have these big dreams about, we just really know that, you know what, there's more to life. There's always, you can and you will if you want to. And it's so funny because this is right next to me. Will it come across? She believed she could, so she did.
Yeah, I like that. Is that your mantra?
Yeah. So I just had this one dream for myself, that I wanted freedom, and I was determined enough to make it happen. And I used productivity as one of the tools to get me to living the life that I want to live.
But I think you and I both fall into the same category now. I want to inspire people, okay? And sometimes you can't do that by telling. You've kind of got to do it yourself, yeah?
Absolutely.
And I think you're there, aren't you? You are leading. You are showing, women and men, business owners, people want to get the most. You're showing them how to have effective, efficient businesses.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've just got back from Australia, where I was taken to speak at a conference, and I shared obviously a lot of it on social media, but I'm not, I do share bits, and I have people messaging me saying, "Oh my God, it's so inspiring. You're basically showing me what's possible," and it's the same as exactly what you're doing with your life. Like, we are stepping up and living big so that others can see what's possible. It just so happens that that's how we're wired, and it excites us to do that.
Yeah.
But the beautiful ripple effect is that I'm the same. I really want people to say, because of you, Jo, I didn't give up, and I stepped up, and now I'm living my version of a big life, which might be that I take Fridays off. It doesn't have to be I travel around the world. It's like whatever version is for you.
What everybody wants, everybody's drivers, everybody's triggers, what everybody wants, needs for their own family to feel like they've achieving something is all different. I mean, you're absolutely right. I think somebody said to me yesterday, we were talking about this, that obviously we help expert recruiters to recruit for themselves. Ambitious recruiters want to go it alone. We help them be seriously successful. But without us, it was mentioned yesterday, some of these people would have failed. And that inspires me. And you're in that same boat at the moment, that you must talk to plenty of business owners, and we're talking about small businesses. We're not talking great big businesses in the whole, are you? Talking about those.
Mine are mainly women entrepreneurs who work online for themselves, but they want to work. They don't want to be sat at a desk from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And so, that's generally who I work with. But I tell you what, and it doesn't matter the size of the dream. This is the point.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're at the stage where you're like, oh my God, I can't even imagine having 6 figures business, or I can't even imagine working 4 days or 3 days a week. It doesn't matter. You get to start with where you're at, because guaranteed, hanging around people like us. I had an email this morning. It literally brought tears to my eyes. One of my members in my membership, she messaged me with this beautiful, massive dream. And I was just like, oh my God. And she said that 2 years ago, I couldn't even think about this. And that actually being with us, she's now got these live big thoughts. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, so we grow into our dreams as well. So that's important to say.
Yeah, but I think we've kind of missed the real key bit here. It's defining those goals, defining those dreams.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about some productivity. I'm hoping that before we finish this, okay, and we have to be really careful that me and you are kind of going to go off on all kind of tangents with it. But what is,
I know.
all right? It's about defining goals and then taking productivity to implement daily tasks. I mean, we invented this kind of random thing, which was demos, WEMOs, and MOMOs, which is daily objectives, weekly objectives, and monthly objectives. Okay. But most people, I find, are just busy. Most people are generally, once they start the business, they're productive they think they're productive.
Yeah.
What they're not doing is putting the time and investing it into them so that further down the line, their life gets easier. They work less. And there's a spike, in my opinion, that comes at the beginning where all the hard work, the sweat equity, when you really graft comes. And then it should get easier. You've got to earn, but you kind of got to earn it. And that comes from putting things in place.
You do, but you need to know where you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
So productivity comes for a purpose. Time comes for a purpose.
Yeah.
Like, how many times if you book, like, if I quite often take Fridays off. I never have client calls. So Fridays, if I book something on a Friday, guaranteed my weekly goals are done by Thursday. If I didn't book something in the diary, maybe I'd be like, well, I can do it Friday. So time comes for a purpose, and then also like showing up and working through what's important comes when we have a bigger purpose for that goal,
Yeah.
you know.
For your life.
And the reason,
For your life.
Yeah, and actually, Dave, the thing is, really, what's powered me all the way is that, so on a daily basis, I've got to break it down, and it might be like not necessarily an exciting task I've got to work on. But in the back of my mind, I have this one big dream. I want to create true freedom for myself. I want to be able to work from anywhere. You know, obviously, this is going back 5 years. That was the thing that drove me. And then when I'd been doing that for a while, I realized, oh my God, like I've basically outgrown my goal or my dream.
Because it wasn't big enough.
I outgrew it. I didn't have that purpose again.
Yeah.
But I need to put myself back through the cycle of like, what's my bigger purpose again now? And then it was move to Spain. Yeah. Buy a home in Spain.
Cycles, though. Now that's really interesting. Yeah. And it's because when we met 4 or 5 years ago. Okay.
I think it might have even been 6 years ago.
Really? Right. So we sat next to each other at an entrepreneurs convention meeting.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's a big conference, wasn't it, in the UK?
Yeah, that's right. And it was a brilliant conference, but we sat there. Yeah. And I remember at the time, you would literally on kind of day one, right?
Yeah.
And as a VA, because you started as a VA.
I started my business as a VA, and I was just this like, you know, I had no idea, talking about no idea what was possible. I was just like trading time for hours, like trying to find, you know, and then suddenly I became more and more aware of like, what, you know, like this, almost like this online underworld, and realized what was possible. And then it was just like the cap was taken off, and I was like, right, okay. Just like, you know, that vision of the dog that's been let out the gate. And then I had this thing. I remember we met, and I was like, this is my goal. And you're like, fair play. And then I did it, and you're like, oh my God, respect. Yeah. But you have to go back to that productivity. Is you've got to have some kind of purpose for showing up.
So I think that people kind of get confused, I think, with purpose. And I really admire business people. I really admire employees, for example, that are on a trajectory going places. Okay. I was one of those people, but I wanted to be a director of a recruitment business. I wanted a load of staff, and I wanted to really inspire them to really achieve beyond what they could expect. And once I'd done that, it was kind of hollow, really, because it wasn't I hadn't really internalized my real goal. Okay. And I always wanted to do something bigger. When we built Seriously Connected, I had this light go off because things like Airbnb and Ubers and all this kind of centralized way of operating was kind of new. And I always remember thinking that eBay was the greatest business in the world. You're doing nothing but connecting people who want to sell junk and buy junk, right? I thought, this is genius. And then it kind of dawned on me, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you are just the middle sort of connect. So to me, I saw this other sort of way of, like you said, this internet underworld.
Yeah.
It does, right?
Like, what? I popped my head in and went, what? This is happening? Amazing.
But it's like a dirty word, okay?
Yeah.
Because I want you to think back, like when I was employed, like I think most people that when they're employed is you get programmed to do like 9 to 6 or 8 till 6. And when you move into your own devices, it's very easy to stay in that work pattern. How do you get out of that? How do you program your brain?
I actually gonna like play devil's advocate on that, because I believe that the problem with most people that work for themselves is that they have completely stepped completely away from what used to work. So I think we need to find a balance of like actually showing up 9 till 6 or whatever isn't necessarily anything, but what did I, like just take some of those habits from your old employed job and bring them into working for yourself, and then actually you skyrocket, you supercharge. Whereas most of us go, woohoo, I'm completely free, I'm gonna have coffee in a coffee shop this morning, and then it's the end of the month and I'm like, this doesn't work. You've just
jumped straight in with one of my favorite words, and it's a word I always associate with you, and that's habits. Okay.
Yes.
Now in recruitment, particularly recruitment, it's all KPI driven. Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand that, you need X amount of sales calls, like X amount of jobs, and you need X amount of candidates to fill the job, so many ins. Of course, I understand that. But that's a way of measuring your productivity to some extent. And it doesn't work for everybody because it puts them in a sort of in a box or in a program. And people can be a bit more free and a bit more flamboyant to run their business, but to recruit successfully and make turnover and revenue, for example, and placements. But I think a lot of those KPI side of things create good habits. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think people like you just said, you get out of the habit, going to work, you get out of the routine of building your business, growing your business, and you very easily slip into terrible habits, as well as some almost self-sabotage your own. Because people think they're busy instead of doing what matters. And then what they do is they work longer to justify.
It's crazy. I think there's one of the things I want to say is like, we wouldn't go to our boss on a Friday like, sorry, I didn't hit these KPIs, or I didn't do what I said I'd do, because I didn't really feel like it. Whereas that's exactly what we're doing when we work for ourselves. Like we ourselves basically. So I think it is about really remembering that we're still the CEO of our life and our business, and showing up as that person, but with so much more flexibility. You get to choose like what it looks like. And what did you say? The other thing is that being busy is not this is not the goal, guys. It's not the goal. We've got to remember that when we talk about 80-20 rule, there is a reason for that, and we could put that across all kinds of areas of our life, but it is obviously really great for productivity. There is 20% of the things that are on your to-do list that are going to bring 80% of the results. Are you doing those on a daily basis first? Are they getting your main attention?
No.
Yeah. And then letting go of basically a lot of that 80% because it's not necessary. And most of us will freak out over it. Like
do people carry around the 80%? Do they feel it's important?
Yeah.
Is it important? Is it important?
No.
Is it happening?
We need to say no. We've got to say no to the stuff that doesn't move the needle forward. Can't do everything, right? But if you do the 20% and you do the 20% consistently, the rest of that stuff doesn't matter.
Right. What is the 20%? What is the number one thing that you do? I'm going to say daily, but it might be weekly. What is the number one thing that you do that moves your business forward?
Well, in actual fact, for me, it is definitely an inner game. So I need to work on my mindset every single day to keep showing up and for everyone else. So if I don't do that, then I get in my own way, because self-confidence and doubt, etc., will then, literally, I will self-sabotage. So, so it's not necessarily what we think it is either. You might be going, I know what my 20% is, and it's like, but stop. If you really slow down and ask yourself, what is the 20% that makes the biggest difference? It might even be your diet. If you've not got the energy to show up, then how can you live your best life and do your best work? But it could be, obviously marketing's a big thing for me, but but if I had to pick one thing, it's like keeping myself high vibe.
Do you know what? So I see there are 4 things, okay, in productivity with your business. It's one thing a word we've not mentioned, which I think is really critical, is accountability.
Oh,
Okay. Productivity and accountability kind of go hand in hand with each other. And like you said, you are the CEO of your own life now.
yeah.
But, I was talking to somebody only this morning. Okay. And we were talking about 5 years ago. Okay. Would I have imagined 5 years ago that I would be here? Not a chance. Was it improbable that we would operate? No, as you know, I have a house here just outside of Lisbon. I'm in Lisbon now, okay, between Manchester and Lisbon, purely to prove that you can live between the two, and this world, the internet that we're in now, it's just empowering. And we're only scratching the surface with it, okay?
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, that was a completely improbable, not even a goal. It just never happened. And I think this is what happens. People don't understand what is possible, what you can actually achieve in your future, what you can achieve for you in your life. And I think they play small. Yeah.
It is, and we do, because it's fear. Like basically everything that's going on is fear. But there is a case of you've got to be bold and brave if you want to create something that's a little bit different. And also surround yourself by people who get it. Like the reason we bounce off each other is because we understand.
There's a bigger world. There is a bigger.
Yeah,
it's not the job.
You've got to find your people. Like if you're the sum of the 5 people you spend time with, and you're surrounded by people that are that just think that there's only one way, you've got to go and find your people, because that's exactly how it's happened for me. Like I've always surrounded myself. I've always invested in masterminds, and I've always been with those people that allow me to think bigger and to see, okay, what's possible. But one thing I do want to talk about, which has been really powerful, and it is more of a kind of mindset thing, but I talked about it at conference last month, and it was just this kind of tool about your future self, basically. But if you fast forward, you talked about 5 years ago, fast forward 5 years, and anyone that's watching, just stop and take some deep breaths and think okay, it's 5 years from now, it's 2024, and
oh my God, 2024. I'll be 50.
Awesome. So what do you want to have achieved, and what does everything look like? Do you now, really get clear and go through all different areas of your life? What would it look like? And then come back to now, and on a daily basis, so my version, that future version of me, I call her the real Jo. And so on a daily basis, I will stop and I'll be like, what would the real Jo do today? How would the real Jo show up? What would her thoughts be? What actions would she tackle? What goals would she set for the next month? That is beyond powerful, because then you're doing it from, you're getting out of your small thinking, and you're doing it from your future self who's already achieved these amazing things. And that is it's quite a big shift.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy. And we've said loads of times, not that we've said it, but it's been said loads of times, that what you want to achieve in 1 year, people always really over egg what they think they can do, but what you can always appreciate what you can possibly do in 10. So, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Not enough people are going, right, okay. So I had a call this morning with a recruiter. We were talking about it. He said, I really want to go on my own. I really like the idea of getting involved with you guys. He said, but at the moment, I haven't got 3 months worth of income, which I'm going to need to go self-employed. Absolutely. And you need that. You need to look at your own circumstances. Now, but then, have you put a flag in the ground today? Yeah. How much do you want it? Or are you going to wait another month and go, well, I'll do it in a month, so it's 5, and then it never happens? People, I think, lack the commitment to that goal, and also what that might look like in 5 or 10 years' time. Now, I'm kind of petrified of not hitting what I want, my personal goals and ambitions, in the next 5 and 10 years. But I'll be honest with you, not every day do I go and look at those goals and dreams and ambitions, okay, and they drift. And they drift because actually maybe they're not really strong enough goals. Maybe I'm.
Well, they could be someone else's goals. This is why you've got to keep coming back to what's important to me. But another way of doing that is fast forwarding those 5 years and being like, how will it feel if I stayed on the track that I'm on right now, and I didn't make the leap, and I didn't save those 3 months' wages, and so I'm still where I am? How does that feel? And that's actually another one that's just okay, I am right. I'm going to save it. September is the month that I'm going to have my notice in.
Right in the ground.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Because nothing changes unless you make the change, unless you change, right?
But you know what? They're kind of cliches, but they're
Yeah.
cliches for a reason, aren't they?
Oh, and all the things that I get really excited about now, I used to know about, but they would just go over my head. But now I'm like, oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You are the sum of the people. You are going to, you are the sum of the people you hang around with. That energy will lift you up or bring you down, one way or the other. Choose those people.
Do you find as well that it's about operating in your core genius as well, with the bit where you're the most responsive? I totally get energized when I'm on the phone, I'm talking to a prospect, I'm talking like this now, or I'm shooting a video or something like that. I come away and I'm absolutely buoyant, but I don't do enough of it. And I know that.
Yeah. I can remember that. I can remember us talking about that 4 or 5 years ago, about like, what's the thing that Dave is really good at? Do more of that, and like just getting in front of people, and you were doing events and things like that. And I think it's just also, you don't need to have all the answers, because action brings clarity, and action brings confidence. And so it's just like knowing that you've created, so they know what their next action steps are. They've got this beautiful container to support them, and all they need to do is be bold, take that first step, and then everything opens up. And you don't need to know where, you don't necessarily need to have all the answers for the next 10 years, because my life and yours have totally course corrected along the way. I couldn't have actually known. I never had on my radar to live in Spain. I was like, oh, and I've just bought a house here. And I'm like, and it's just, but all that opens up when we take one step, the next step becomes clear when we take one other step, and then you course correct. But it works, and we've got to be met halfway. We can't sit here and be like, show me a sign. You've got to like take that step.
Yeah, I think it's every single word, you preach to the converted here. But do you know something? It took me as an employee probably 4 years before I made that decision. They're not easy decisions, these. They're not easy decisions. But I think you're quite right. Is if you have, it's why we created. So we have a recruiter community at the moment, and it's for solo recruiters, those out sailing their own canoe at the moment. But it's also for the ones who want to go solo. And we want those to be connected to that tribe of people. Okay, and it's about finding your own tribe. It's about finding that people on the other side, because it's not as scary as you think. And
I think it's game changing when you find your people. They literally lift you along, don't they? It's like, yeah.
But you're there for each other. And that's the kind of thing as well. And everybody's done what you're trying to do to some extent. And it's very nice to be able to follow it. But I think the key, if I was to break this down, I would say to people that what really matters to you, okay? What really matters. Now, this might be 1 or 2 or 3, 5 things, okay? Now, if you speak to my Fiona, she wanted the boys to go to a specific school. She wanted them to experience a kind of lifestyle. We never thought we would ever really talk about it seriously. I always wanted to learn to surf. I'm rubbish at surfing, right? It's hilarious how bad I am, okay? But I will do.
Yeah.
But I think what people don't do is, let's say you have an income goal, okay? Now, the natural thing you need to replace normally is a salaried position, okay? Now, that is normally the number one thing people have got to look at before they start considering any kind of redirection, living the life and purpose. It's all well and good for us to say, listen, give up your job and go and float around the world, with your banjo playing, my old man's a good man.
I think this is it. Like, you need to know how much you need on a monthly basis. Like, I jumped on a plane and went, okay, I'll be back when I'm back. But I had a laptop and I was very clear. That's the other thing about not, doing things differently. When I was started as a VA, I was doing like offline, going to network meetings, meeting people, trying to grow a business that way. Then everything had to go online because of how I decided I wanted my life to look. And my business flourished, right, and thrived, because I got rid of, like, again, the 80-20, I got rid of all the distraction and was just like
laser focused.
Yeah. What's the biggest impact? Because I want to get to the beach this afternoon,
Yeah, and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
I kind of I've not got into the not feeling guilty about it at the moment. I'm kind of
and I just on a weekly basis we'll do like a CEO date, which is like my weekly review, and it gets clear. What do I want to be celebrating this time next week? That's my weekly goal. What am I proud of from this week? What does my schedule look like? As in, like, what, how do I want it to look next week? Am I working every day? Am I, what? And it's flexible every week depending on what's going on in my life. so I have the flexibility, but I still show up. Like it's quite interesting watching how other people do things, but like I still show up because I've got that productivity part of my, the habits and all that stuff is still ingrained in me, that has a big impact.
I saw you, obviously, you're very active on Instagram, and I do. When you were, was it this year? You were super ill, weren't you?
Yes, beginning of the year.
Yeah, you were super ill, but you still you still showed up. Maybe not looking your best, if you don't mind me saying.
No,
you still showed up. All right. But that's the thing, you see, you've got to show up every day, no matter what. It's real, and people buy into the reality of people. But I think the 4 areas that I've always thought, you've got to look at your business goals, you've got to look at relationships, you've got to look at mindset, but then you've got to look at your future life. Yeah. And I think those are the 4 areas. And, to be productive and efficient, you have to then understand where the most effort goes, look at your day, review your day, what works, what doesn't. And that's your own data, isn't it? That's daily data. That's daily Dave data. I kind of like that.
Actually, I think it's self-awareness, right? It's the same thing as self-awareness. Like self-awareness is the game changer. Like if you're going to, whatever's going on in your life, if you haven't got the awareness, you can't change it or you can't make tweaks. And quite often, we've only got to make a couple of degrees
correction.
And it's like, but you've got to have that self-awareness. And we get that by like stopping and reviewing 5 minutes at the end of the day. Okay, what did I learn today about my
I think a lot of people don't do that. What did I learn today? I know they don't look at the business. I would recommend quite highly, look at the business and look at your growth. Where has your business grown? Yeah. Do you set even if it's just growing your data set by X, or X, set small targets? All right, you're not very good on posting frequently, 1 post a day or 1 post every 2 days. Let's not overface ourselves, because it's gradual.
You're right. You said earlier, it is about focusing on your strengths. To start with, you focus on your strengths. Not your weaknesses. So like go all in on your strengths. That's that whole Zone of Genius.
Yeah. I think, and that to me is where I think I want people just to really take a break, get a piece of paper down. I was at watching my youngest the other day, and he was skateboarding. Okay. And he's learning to skateboard. He's not a bad little skateboarder, actually. I mean, he's 13. He's not, he's not a nipper, and he was watching the older guys. Okay. And some really, really good skateboarders. And he was mimicking some of the things, and he come back and he went, they're brilliant, aren't they? He said, one day, I'm going to be like that. He said, just got to practice. Okay. And that to me is so innocent in terms of having a bigger goal, but understanding where you are today. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then where do you want to get to, and what does that really look like?
There's 2 sides to it, isn't it? It's like you've got to, like having that big vision, and some people really, really struggle with that. And when we talked about like things coming for a purpose, I don't mean you've got to know what your purpose is for life. I just mean for right now, what's the purpose? And so having something that kind of does excite you, like you feel it inside, but then on a practical level coming back, and it's just like, right, in the next 3 months, what's the one thing I can do that will take me a step closer? Yeah. And the other side is, for me, is I've set massive, and it's not about achieving them always. Sometimes it's about who do I need to become on a daily basis to even have the chance of achieving it, and then a bigger, different opportunity will highlight itself. So who do you need to become? Like that is where you need to be starting now. Like I've got this great vision, and I'm not sure if it's for me or whatever. Right now, how would I show up if I was that person? What would I be doing differently? What am I not doing that I wish I was? What am I doing that I wish I wasn't?
But also knowing which bits you're never going to be. Okay?
Yeah.
Some of us kind of want to master everything, and it's just an impossibility. So let's not even try.
Yeah.
I think one of the key things is to don't be working while we're having this podcast, right?
No.
You'll be even more efficient than whatever I imagine. I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's about I totally lost my thread there.
I'm sorry.
You throw me then.
I went to close a window down that popped up, and then I closed you down. I was like, oops.
Live, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, I think the thing is, I think that skip it because I've completely lost my thread now.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go back to that habits. One of my favorite quotes is, "People do not decide their futures; they decide their habits."
Yeah, that's the one I always see.
Decide their future.
Is that your quote?
No, but it's the one I always use.
Yeah, that's the one I always associate with you. See, I kind of coined, I don't know with anybody else, but I kind of go with activity creates opportunity. Okay. The more you create an activity that you want, for example, it's a rubbish sort of way of saying, but if you never get invited out for dinner and you want to start going to dinner parties, okay, start having dinner parties yourself. Hold one. Before you know it, you've got more than you know what to do with. You kind of got to put yourself in that situation, and like you say, with the people you surround yourself with, and understanding what that bigger vision is, that bigger goal.
Actually, Dave, a really good thing to talk about is that it's okay if it feels uncomfortable. Like, this is a big thing that I've learned in my own journey, is sometimes it feels uncomfortable. Like, it's scary. I'm full of fear. I've also got excitement. And remember that fear is a feeling, and it feels the same if it's excitement or fear. You can choose what you call it. But ultimately, yes, quite often, stepping outside my comfort zone feels really, really scary. It is addictive. We get used to it. But it's okay if it feels uncomfortable right now. Like, it doesn't mean that it's not for you. Like, really explore.
I think that's growing. Don't you think that's growth?
Yeah, of course it's growing. That is what growth is, uncomfortable. And in fact, I'm probably going to regret saying this out loud on a video.
Oh, well, wait a minute. It is a family show.
I was thinking about the name of my book, because I'm writing a book, and I was actually going to call it This Might Hurt, because it is painful growing and into this big life and following your dreams. Not easy and painful, uncomfortable, growing pains, etc. But that's part of it. And man, do you know what? The alternative is is more painful, right?
I was talking about growth the other day, because right now, this minute, we've come through a massive growth period in terms of what the business means. Everything is a lot more aligned. We're very congruent of where we see it going. And I think you've got me on mute here. Yeah. And I think then that now we see that, and we are at the end of a curve, and we're ready for this next curve, but we're still kind of clinging on a little bit.
Oh my God.
Our fingernails are still in one camp, because we've kind of not gone all in. We're living a little bit of that what if it was instead of what if it is, going to, and that's that transition.
I can completely 100% understand. I have just done that myself. I have literally just gone through the 1 foot in where I was and 1 foot where I want to be. And that transition is painful. Yeah. And you've got to take the leap. And you mentioned the word alignment, and I just want to talk about that, because I've definitely learned, like, it is an alignment thing. Like, you have to be like, you've got to know your own core values. You can't build a business that's not based on your values. So I know, like, another one for me is connection. So freedom's important to me. I knew that when I created my business. Connection's really important to me. And I managed to create quite a freedom-based business, and I was quite disconnected from my business. And that was like, I'm not aligned anymore, because connection is important to me. So knowing alignment to the life that you're trying to create is important, and your values.
Do you know, I'm going through that today, and not just today, currently. I've created a business. We've proved that you can operate from anywhere, and there's a little bit of the connection part. So we've started a lot more virtual video meetings and everything with all the team and everybody there, even just having a fun. We have coffee mornings. So we jump on 10 o'clock in the morning, we'll have a coffee and just chat. We don't talk about work. We just talk about anything. Okay. Because I kind of missed that connectivity. That bit was really important to me. We have a remote team, everything that we operate. So that bit that you're talking about has been massive recently. We kind of put a few things in place, and it has transformed us. Yeah. And
it's just, you follow the formulas. You put a funnel in place and you do this, and then you realize, hang on, one of the reasons that I had this is because I want to inspire, and connecting with people is part of that. And I took a big chunk of that out and I brought it back in, and it's like, now I'm, aligned again. And of course, everything feels easier and is more successful. So I think that's really important to just like look at that, the alignment piece. Am I aligned? Is it, it might be that you start off just thinking about life, and then it will turn into, okay, because as we grow, everything, it's like that cycle. We grow, we have to put ourselves back through it. It's like, what do I want? Okay, work on my mindset. What does future me, how does she show up? And then the productivity piece of like, okay,
how to make it a reality.
How do I make it happen? Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? So what tips have you got? So Okay, in terms of, because we think big, okay, and I think that people have kind of probably got the gist that we think there's a bigger life out there to go and do whatever you feel. You do have, everybody have the tools, you know, some jobs we can't, for example. There are some jobs we understand, but the reality is this is about helping recruiters. This is, for me, this is about trying to really empower recruiters to follow what matters to you. Look at your family, look at your finances, look at your future. Where do you want to go? If you want to run a great big recruitment agency, etc., you might need not to travel. You might need to get really ingrained in it. But if you want to take those skills and experiences forward, you can do it. You already are doing it. You're already, you're sort of rooting yourself unnecessarily. You can really go and be free to do something. So what kind of real big positive steps can people put in to be productive? What would you recommend?
I think we've probably repeated a lot of the things that I talked about already, is that really getting in tune with what does feel exciting. We need to have something that feels exciting, and it can be big, and it can be, you don't have to necessarily believe it, but it's got to be exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then coming back to I just like to really break it down. For me, it really works. It is productivity still, but the inner game of like that future self, the real Jo. How does she show up today? Like connecting with her all the time. And then like just on a weekly basis.
Weekly basis is a good barometer to measure.
I teach in my membership, like we have a very short end of day review. We do a weekly review, which is basically like my secret weapon. Like without that, I don't feel calm or in control the next week. I don't achieve as much. And it can be as big and as juicy as you want. It can be, it can also be short, but like, when do you want to take it? Have it at the same time every week. Act as if it's a client meeting. You show up for it as the real Jo or your future self. And you're like, right, what did I learn this week? What do I want to celebrate? What do I want to be celebrating this time next week? Okay, what does next week look like? How am I going to actually implement those things? And I always set a personal goal as well. So I will set 1 or 2 business goals every week and 1 personal goal every week, because
I like that.
It's I mean, and it can be, you know, move my body. It could be, it does. You're just always has to be a personal goal as well. So in actual fact, it's not about it's very simple. Don't go and look for a really complicated system. It's just like some very small, simple habits on repeat will be game changing. And I honestly believe that it's an inner game that will change everything. So what do you need to do to get yourself internally on board for the next leap, you know?
And I think when you're listening to those kind of conversations, the chances are you're probably not far off being ready, aren't you?
Yeah. And when it feels really uncomfortable and there's loads of resistance, that means that you're on the verge of a breakthrough. And the other thing is I get a lot of resistance. So I will just literally say to myself, it's resistance, it's resistance, it's resistance. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I can carry on. You know, it's moves the feet.
Identifying it. I like that. Yeah. I really like that. Pardon?
That self-awareness again.
Yeah, I think it's true. It's knowing what your own barriers are, that self-limiting beliefs, those issues that you put in front of yourself, that actually, if you've got the courage to confront them and push through them and not be afraid of what's on the other side, who knows? And you will do that regularly. It will happen frequently.
Oh, yeah. And comfort zones are there to be broken, right? So... but I mean, I can give you so many practical tools, but I honestly believe, and I have seen from my own journey, from my clients, that these practical tools are not the game-changing piece. Like stepping back, what do I want life to look like? If in an ideal world, and you know, it doesn't matter if it's doesn't feel. When I first decided I wanted to travel the world, oh my God, I was just like, this isn't possible.
You were not homeless for quite a while.
I was homeless. Well, no, I was homeless by choice.
Yeah. You not only homeless as in like a homeless person, but you went, right, I've got my suitcase, I'm off, and this is what I'm going to do.
3 years non-stop traveling the world.
Yeah.
But before that, I didn't even think that was possible. So, you know, don't think that it's all a time management piece, or it's there's other sides to it, like really getting close to what are the thoughts that are going on in my head. And like writing them out, get them down, negative consequences, positive consequences, get them all down of failing, right? Or succeeding, because there's something there that's blocking us more or less. And it's good to know what is the negative consequence of failing, and do the same for succeeding. And,
you know, it's a topic for another conversation, I'm sure, but the fear of succeeding is a real interesting one.
Oh my God. The first time I did that, there's 25 things for each a couple of years ago. And the first time I wrote it out, I just could not believe the stuff that came out. Because I was like, well, one of them was like, oh, my friends won't understand me or get, I'm like, they already don't. We're already in completely different paths. So I was just like, oh my God, this is mental.
Not everybody will get it. Not everybody gets it. I know. So I think I love that. I mean, that's it. I mean, the fear of succeeding. People are the what ifs, and sometimes that self-limiting beliefs are going to stop you going, finding out what could actually be achieved in life. It's just such an amazing thing to do, and we have such an opportunity. And I massively believe we have one life, and we kind of got to follow that dream.
I do believe that too. I really, really believe that you don't want to look, nobody looks back on something we don't regret doing things. We don't regret going for things, right? We regret not going for things. And everything is, you've got to course correct. Take a job. There was something I was going to say and I completely lost it, but
yeah, you're a nightmare. You're such a rubbish guest.
Yeah, sorry. Overexcitable, I think, is the word.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Course correction, follow your dreams, and something. What's meant for you is not going to pass you by, so go for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm always happy to come and give more productivity tips. But first up, you know what? Just start thinking big and surround yourself by those people. First step, go and find your people.
Yeah.
They've already found you. Go and surround yourself. Basically, stalk Dave until you're that energy has been and then you're okay, what's my next step? And that's a really powerful thing.
100%. And I wish when I was looking at stuff years ago that the internet was kind of as buoyant as it was, and people like you existed, so that I could find, people that connected with and my tribe, and how can I go and feel like I'm not a lunatic because I want to go and do something amazing. Yeah. And fair play to you, Jo, for letting the world know that you exist.
Thank you for always encouraging me. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm a big supporter. So quickly, where can we find you? Jo Bendle.
JoBendle.com is my website. Yeah.
Instagram, you're all over Instagram.
_Bendle. Yeah.
So practically frequent productivity positives. I can't know. What do you want to tips and hints and everything? Jo Bendle's your girl.
Thanks so much. That's been an amazing, inspiring, uplifting chat. So yeah, watch out, people that I'm speaking to. I've got clients this afternoon. They're going to be like, woo.
I could do this for an hour or two easily, I really could. But Jo, super grateful you've took the time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it. Good luck, everybody, and thanks for listening. Cheers, Jo.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care.